And now we present a message from Alex Vaughn.
HBs, buenos dias from Barcelona. The C is pronounced as a TH, I think. That's how I say it anyway, just to fit in. So I guess he said Barcelona. I just landed, and my bus driver just yelled at me for not understanding here. So I think I'm going to fit in here just well. Forgot to brought something to trim my mustache with. That was bright. You'd be surprised how much stuff gets in there. Now I'm only a week away from my return. 11 countries down and 1 to go in. The one I'm in right now. That's Spain. That's where Barcelona is. My knowledge of geography is vast, I know. Italy was much more exciting than Vienna, which was much more boring than Prague and Budapest. There's a math equation in there somewhere. They should fix up the Coliseum and have it host Super Bowl 100. Just a thought. Much love, bros. And buenos dias to all our listeners. That was actually a message from Alex, and all of the odd sort of variations on English in there were as written. It wasn't anything invented on my part. I think that Alex, in his time in Europe, is slowly losing his English, which would be troubling, because that's the only language he has. And yet, here we are. He's stranded out there in Barcelona. Out of luck. I'm stranded, or stuck in the middle with you. You being 2 gentlemen this week. What? How? Will Vaughn on the West Coast. Will, how you doing?
I'm doing well. This week we are joined, of course, by our good friend of the show, Mr. Ian Hanlin. Ian, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here, and it was good to be here last week, too.
Yes, well, little snafu last week. You won't talk about that. But
we just had him on mute the whole time, didn't we?
We did have him on mute.
My mic wasn't working.
Yeah. It's like, I don't think my mic works as well as his mic does. He was silenced last week, tragically. We had other things to talk about.
Yeah.
I actually...
Who is Mike, anyway?
I don't remember what we talked about last week. Apparently, it was
a
very
good
important.
one.
It was a good one.
I
Yeah.
like that one. It was the trailer had dropped, had it not?
There you go. Yeah. Oh no, I think it was right before the trailer dropped.
It was right before
we looked
the
at the
trailer
poster.
dropped.
Is what we did.
Oh yes, that was a very in-depth poster discussion.
I went horde on the poster.
In-depth poster discussion.
I enjoyed it a lot, actually. That poster conversation.
We appreciate that. That's why you're a friend of the show. That's why you're a occasional guest on the show.
Gorge.
And there's a very special occasion coming up. And now I'm sounding like the public access ladies on SNL. What were their names? I don't remember. I know it was
the Delicious Dish people.
Yes, yeah. Of the famous Sweaty Balls and of Betty White's muffin.
Oh,
there you go. But yeah, Halloween's coming up at the what day is this? 26th. Halloween's coming up very soon. This Saturday night is Halloween. Last year, I think on this show last year is when you and I were on the island. We were on Yuki coming back.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
coming back from Yuki at karaoke, we sang the seminal classic, and I used the word seminal with my friend Sarah Canning last week. She said, "What does that mean?" And I said,
"Not friends anymore."
I don't know.
It's unclear.
But Seminole is a word, right? Not the Seminoles, not the Florida State Seminoles. I'm talking about this.
Well, exactly. You're talking about the old Jameis Winston's team.
Oh, yes, old Jameis Winston's team. No, I'm Seminole is like Seminal.
I feel like we all understood that,
right?
Yeah.
So, can
what song did you sing?
Can we define Seminole first so I can answer that question when somebody asks me?
Sure. Here we go.
I believe it has to do with like being intrinsically,
there you go.
connected with,
yes,
or part of,
good,
or something like that.
Strongly influencing later development.
Wow, Matt, you're really smart.
That's the first definition. The second one, not for this podcast.
Whoa. Ew. Okay. So we sang at karaoke the seminal classic from the Bare Naked Ladies, If I Had $1 Million.
Yeah.
This past week, I actually saw BNL in action, in concert, with famous noof Alan Doyle and his new band, the Beautiful Gypsies. And I went to that show with Sarah Canning. I appreciate her inviting me. But I don't know. It came with a free download. The ticket came with a free download of the new Bare Naked Ladies album. And it's not great. It's also not for me though. I was like,
fair enough.
I was listening to copious amounts of Slayer to balance and balance it out.
That being said, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10
album
album.
Sweep the Grammys.
But they were fun. BNL was fun in concert. They're a little too old to do the whole like rapping shtick and like yeah, exactly.
Just walk, don't run, drink juice.
Basically, but anyway,
did they at least do 1 week?
a good time to be had by all. Oh yeah, that was their closer. I think 1 week.
There's some groups, especially when I think of like the casino tour groups, like guys who had like one song in the 80s. It's just like, I mean, I see the concerts for 2 hours, but I feel like it's really that 5 minutes at the beginning or end where I'm gonna know.
Once Trooper sings, we're here for what? Raise Little Hell. Is that Trooper?
Well, I think so. Yeah.
Well, I think both are.
I think. Oh, okay, they are. All right.
Both are, and then I mean, Trooper's a bit of an exception because I also got the boys in the bright white sports car.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay, never mind. They got
Right?
I saw Trooper at Alderney Landing one year. And it was amazing.
Yeah, they're part of the Alderney Landing
Who
tour.
do they think they are? And where did they get that car?
I love songs that raise questions
And don't answer them.
and don't answer them.
Is she really going out with him? I mean, the answer has to be a yes in that scenario.
Yeah, right.
That's a very something about Mary sounding song.
Oh yes,
Very Fairly Brothers.
yeah. Sugar Ray covered that song a couple years ago.
That's a song that has to have been based in reality, based in fact.
yeah.
Well, Ian
to
and I saw The Darkness a couple of weeks ago, and that was a good show.
That was a surprisingly excellent show.
That was great. That was a good time. But they end their set before the encore. They end their set with I Believe in a Thing Called Love,
Yep.
and they come back for an encore. We're like, what are they going to do for the encore? Because they already did like
The song.
the song. Yeah, they already did their hit.
Capital T, capital S.
But they sounded great.
Yeah,
they sounded really good.
Cool show.
Yeah, B&L sounded good too. So yes, we have a special occasion coming up at the end of the month.
These are spooky developments that you were telling us about, of course.
Of course. Very spooky. Also spooky is the specter of the Blue Jays season. Hey, congratulations. Yeah, they came a long way from years previous. And I am kind of glad they won't be in the World Series because I think the Mets are it. Mm-hmm. The Mets are super hot right now. So I said that the silver lining is that the Kansas City Royals will again lose the World Series. But congratulations to the Jays. You had Canada in the palm of your hand for a couple of games.
It was inspiring stuff.
Canada was excited by baseball.
Yes. Now the good thing with baseball is that the end of their season is right around the beginning of hockey season, and the start of their season is right at the end of hockey season. So if you like hockey and if you like baseball, you really got a year-round situation.
You're set.
You got a Jays hat in your head and a Leafs jersey in your chest.
Okay.
If you live in Toronto.
Neither one will make you happy.
Yeah, that's right.
Or you can be Jay Baruchel and just tattoo a maple leaf to your chest and be done with it.
That's right.
That's his maneuver.
Yeah, but he's got a red maple leaf because I know Jay Baruchel is a huge Canadians fan.
Yes.
Massive Habs fan. Oh, he's a regular-sized Habs fan.
He's even a slight Habs fan.
He's a dainty Habs fan.
Yes, he is actually pretty fragile. Actually, Jason Eisner, Dartmouth's own, was working on Goon 2 with Baruchel. I'm not sure in what capacity. It's part of the crew. It's one of the crew.
Producer.
Instagrammer. He was the on-set Instagrammer.
Locations PA.
Yes, exactly. That's what he got going on. So last week we did talk about the Star Wars poster. We can say some very quick words about the Star Wars trailer that came out, Monday Night Football halftime show between the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles.
I have to share something about
Please
this.
share something about this.
Not even about the trailer, but the lead up to the trailer, because during the game and leading up to the game on Sunday before, they had ads for the ad, which is the trailer.
Yeah.
So they had little ads that had Star Wars clips,
little
in
sniffs.
And I was watching football with Emily, and I am embarrassed to say there was a moment where it started like it was an ad for the trailer that came on. And I immediately kind of I sat up, but not in like a way like not just straightening the back, but like kind of like you elevate yourself a little bit, like you're almost stealing yourself.
Yeah.
And it is. I have to go off of Ian's look as well. There is kind of like a groundhog-esque kind of like, what am I, gotta kind of straighten yourself and see.
Yeah.
And once I realized it wasn't the actual trailer, I kind of calmed down a little bit. But Emily was just like, "What are you doing? Why would you like? What would lead someone to do that?"
I had to gird myself for it.
Yeah, It was. I wasn't even excessive on my part. I'm proud of my reaction.
That's good, right? It's visceral. Like I'm trying not to care about. I'm not trying that hard to not care about it because I'm like, all right, it's just a movie. It's gonna be good, but like I'm having dreams about it. It's bad.
Did you see the? I'm not normally a huge fan of like the reaction thing that's been sweeping the internet for absolutely everything. It's like,
those have been huge with Star Wars.
oh yeah, especially. But it's like so and so reacts to trying cheesies and stuff like that. And you're like, I don't care, but they did a reaction video of John Boyega watching the trailer for the first time.
Yeah,
and there's a bit at the end where Finn fires up and him and his friend are watching it in like his apartment and they lose their minds.
Yep.
It's so great to watch.
Yeah.
And he's just so pumped up and he gets this look over his face of like, I'm a Jedi. This is so cool. Like, oh man. it's really great to watch.
It's so good to see the actors react to that because there was one with Daisy Ridley who plays Rey. And she's sitting in a bed in a hotel, and she's like watching it, and like she starts crying. She's like, "Oh, it looks amazing!" She loves it.
It's amazing! I can't believe I'm part of Star Wars.
It's such an honor to be part of something that starting to sound like Warwick's
She
assistant.
sounds like a Spice Girl.
Exactly.
She sounds very Spice Girl.
Well, she's a space girl now because she's in Star Wars. You know what I mean? But
snap! Do you want to go through? Do you kind of want to go shot by shot? Do you want to talk about it in general? What do you want to do?
No, I think all I need to say are a couple more things. Okay. So there's her reaction, and that's all I have to say.
And that's it.
That's it. So it's her reaction, Boyega's reaction, and by the way, his shirt in that video is awesome.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Want that shirt. Want that shirt. So they have her reacting, him reacting, and then they have BB-8 reacting, like the little BB-8 toy, and they sat in a bed, like a hotel bed with the phone in front of it, like Daisy Ridley's video. So he's watching it, and then his little head goes all over the place. It's adorable. It's the cutest one by far.
I am very curious about how BB-8 works practically, because apparently it is a practical creation.
It's magnets or something.
Yeah. You see him like kind of rolling along with Rey out on Jakku. So from the trailers, I think there's lots of different speculation as to the plot or whatever. All I can say about the trailer is that I was out with somebody at a bar and I started watching it, and he was out for a second, and I was watching it, and he came back and he's like, "Hey man, what are you watching?" I was like, the trailer's out, man. The Star Wars trailer's out. This looks pretty cool. And I was like walking home watching it. I was weeping on the street. I couldn't help myself. I know.
You're like, I'm not going to get too into this movie. Cries over it.
Cries over the end of the street.
Watching it on a phone.
Yeah. Well, I tried to hide in an alley, but that bit at the end where she says, "The Force is calling you, just let it in." I'm like, wow, that's awesome.
And with Han, who was the great skeptic of the first movie, being like, "It's all true.
It's all true.
Everything
Yeah,
is
that's
true.
pretty great.
I was there."
Yeah.
I have a lot of Jedi questions, though, like literal Jedi questions.
Literal, yeah, for a movie. Go ahead.
Because, okay, in the first trailer, I don't know if it's the first trailer, Mark Hamill is doing a Jedi spiel.
Yes.
My father had it, I have it, my sister had it.
Yeah, you have that power, too.
You have that power, too. That is not from a movie we've seen so far, correct?
No, it's not.
No, it's a reworking of what he says to Leia in Jedi. But it's not.
It's not like the Revenge of the Sith trailer. I think it was the Revenge of the Sith trailer where it showed Obi-Wan being like, the Jedi were hunted down, extinct. The Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force. And, he's going on about all that stuff. By the way, IGN had this interesting, not that interesting, but what they did was they compiled all 7 Star Wars trailers in one spot. So it's interesting to see how trailers just in general have moved from 1977 to 2015. Like the first Star Wars trailer is like, in space. This could all be happening right now. Like, okay, sure. And it's like a princess and a giant dog and a man with a sword with a laser. And, it's just so. And then like the next 2 are like the Empire Strikes Back one's actually great too. It's like all your favorite characters from the Star Wars film have come back for another movie. Luke Skywalker. Han Solo, like it's the cheesiest thing. And then the Return of the Jedi one's equally as cheesy. But I remember too the Episode 1 trailer when it first debuted on Entertainment Tonight. I taped it. That's actually a very well put together trailer. Except they shouldn't.
Hold on. I gotta say something about, because I was going somewhere with my thought on Mark Hamill.
Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. We can get back to Entertainment Tonight, though, I swear. So he's talking to who I can only assume would be Ray.
It would be Finn.
I think.
It'd be Finn, because
Finn's John Boyega, though, right?
Yeah.
Either one, we don't know.
Now,
well, they both could have him. Okay, yeah, sure.
but John Boyega's black.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Han and Leia had Finn.
No,
Right?
no, the Force is calling him, let it in. It's like he's a...
No. But I'm saying,
Well,
but
what
I'm
Luke's
not saying
saying,
that
though.
part.
It's my sister has it.
Because he says it's strong in my family. I have
Family.
it. My sister has it.
You
You
have that
have
power,
it. So
too.
it could be both of them.
Oh, could have been Lando and Leia. Lando and Leia.
Oh, Lando and
yeah.
Leia.
She got confused because he was wearing Han's clothes.
That's right. At the end of Empire. Go back and look at the movie. Lando was wearing
Anyway,
Han's
that's one of those
clothes.
things that makes me think Ray has been kind of like, it's almost like she's been, like, she hasn't done overtly a whole lot. And people have also pointed out that John Boyega's stance to the lightsaber does not look particularly Jedi-like.
Oh, no. He's yeah. I mean, Luke didn't...
From the end of that last trailer, he looks like he's going down.
Luke didn't...
Could be.
Yeah, that'd be great. That shot's just Kylo Ren just cutting his head
Just
off.
Gets taken out right
It's
away.
like, all right, son, don't step up to a guy if you don't have the Force. Well, I mean, you remember Luke had to train with his lightsaber, too, because he got nailed by that remote in the first Star
Sure.
Wars movie.
Got him in the hip.
Got him in the hip, yep. Jedi strength flows from the Force. Stretch out with your feelings.
I loved the when they showed sort of the Vader mask again, because we had seen that in the previous one, the burnt up Vader mask.
Yeah.
But this one seems to suggest
That it wasn't. It seemed like Luke had it in the first time,
Yeah.
and now it seems like Kylo Ren has it.
and that he's either an apprentice or was inspired by what Vader had done. So that's kind of cool that there's
very
still a Vader connection in there. That's,
Oh, yeah.
that's sort of neat.
J.J. Abrams has said something on record about that I could talk about if you want.
Yeah, what has he said on record?
Yeah.
Essentially, that Kylo Ren, the Adam Driver character with the mask, is obsessed with Darth Vader.
Ooh.
Like most Star Wars fans.
There you go.
Like most Star Wars.
The guy was so cool.
Yeah, so like the first part of the movie is Kylo Ren. He's at a Comic-Con convention.
Yeah.
He's got Darth Vader cosplay.
He's at San Diego Comic
And then like he just straight up kills a guy who's like, "Oh, nice cosplay." It's like, it's not cosplay, it's real.
Your chest plate is not accurate.
This is a real suit. Don't make fun
That's pretty close to how it sounds.
Yeah, it seems like there's Rey, who's like seems to be a scavenger on Jakku. She seems to be sussing out this Star Destroyer that crashed there. So I think everything that happened during Star Wars is kind of like a legend, maybe in Jakku. It's like this faraway place.
Seems like it.
So that Han shows up. It's like no, it all happened. It's all true.
Well, because it kind of seems like the Rebel Alliance beat the Empire. The Empire was, sort of driven back, and now they've regrouped as whatever they are now.
Yeah.
But, sort of throughout the Empire, throughout the rebellion, if you look back at it, there would be these whisperings of like, there was this pilot we had, and he was like kind of out there, but he could do stuff that people can't do, and we think he might have been like a Jedi. You remember them from like way back? And so Han's kind of the guy who's like, yeah, all those like stories that everybody tells. I was involved in those directly, and yeah, it's real, which is pretty cool to me in terms of that.
I wish he'd.
Even things like the Death Star would be like, people didn't know about those sort of things, right? So you even if you think about the Star Wars universe as being like just so vast, right? Like there'd have to be pockets of it that like Imperial people wouldn't even know that the Empire had
Oh
fallen.
yeah,
Until
I did not see one newspaper in those movies.
No, actually,
No.
nobody reads anything. There's no.
there's no books in
There's
the Star
no
Wars
original-
universe. I heard that recently. No one eats anything. No one reads anything.
They just drink blue milk.
Just drink blue milk. Was there any food in front of when Vader was waiting for Han Solo and the party on Cloud City?
No, they must have been starving because he's like, it
Might have had some of
if you join us.
those weird airplane cookies where they're like, it's not sesame snaps or whatever they are.
Yeah.
He's just trying to fit them through his grill or his ass. That's how it works, really? I love these.
I love it.
It's all I eat. Well, no, Yoda had a bite of Luke's carrot or whatever when he's.
I always thought that was more like a granola bar.
It looked like a parsnip.
He didn't particularly like it. Whatever
No,
it is.
yeah, somehow he got so big eating food of that kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
He wanted swamp food.
That's right. I mean, the Ewoks were about to eat too. They're about to eat Han,
C3?
and
Oh,
yeah, they're about to cook
Wouldn't
them.
it be amazing if we just saw like just human skeletons strewn about their camp, like just the evidence that they actually
They did
are.
play drums on stormtrooper helmets.
What happened to them?
At the end.
What are they feasting
That
on?
is kind of dark. You don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's like, were there heads in those things?
They were
There's gonna be so at the victory battle, like victory dinner at Endor, there has to be 2 buffet tables, right? Because one table would have for Ewoks only, and it would be people stuff, right? And then but I'm sure one of the rebellion people would kind of be like, well, I'm still hungry, and they have some food. I'm gonna go over there. Like, no, you can't do that.
No. Stay at this one.
It's people.
There's hummus.
And then somebody from the rebellion, has anyone seen Tom? Anyone seen Tom? It's like the Ewoks started eating. I thought we had more guys here. I guess we lost a lot of people in that battle.
Yeah,
it was really
worse
rough.
than we thought.
Worse than we thought. But I swear I saw him right after, though. I was like, gave him a hug, and I was like, good job. And he's like, I'm just going to go take a leak. I'm like, all right, I'll see you in a bit, man. And some Ewoks followed him. And
there's a point of view camera that's clearly waist size, kind of coming at him and everything like that. Yep. What is this? No!
The weirdest slasher movie of all time.
That'd be hilarious. I mean, Warwick Davis was an Ewok, and he was also the leprechaun.
That's true.
Who was after some gold, right?
He
wanted
most
his
of them,
gold.
yeah.
He wanted his gold.
In Back to the Hood, he was also after his gold, but he also
did he
wanted
extract
to
it from a
stop
guy's
at
teeth too, though?
Yeah. He took somebody's grill out. In Leprechaun 1 in the Hood.
Yes.
And then in Back to the Hood.
What, he was there and then he goes back?
Oh, he went to the Hood twice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of doing something twice, last year, as I kind of mentioned, we did a list of films that fit this time of year. Matt, do you have those bells again we can jingle? All right, never mind. It fits that time of year when everything starts dying. And it's wonderful. So we were very happy to have you on the show last year. Gave us a horror movie, A to Z.
Oh!
And Matt just sipped up his fly and got himself caught again. But Ian again this year, we brought him back for a specific purpose. I asked him to do some homework, and he did some homework. So here we have the return.
Good.
Of horror movie A to Z, because horror movies love sequels.
They really do.
So this is horror movie A to Z, part 2, back to the list.
Back to the list. I gotta ask, is it a true A to Z?
It is a true A to Z, yes.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah, I made sure to stick with that. I may, on 1 or 2 of them, double up, double down on M or stuff like that.
That's fair.
But I tried to keep it.
Just means you can't come back.
I tried to keep it 1-to-1. I made there were some tough cuts to make.
Right. Well, hey, there's always next year.
Yeah. Everybody did such a great job. That's why it was so hard to
cut you. You showed a lot of hustle. That's why it's so hard to cut you.
Yeah. The rest of you made the team, except you, and you.
Did you refer to your list from last year? Do you know what you had last year?
I do know what I had last year. Yeah. So last year,
I just want to make sure that you're not doubling.
Oh no, I made extra here, but let me quickly go back over
to our listeners. If you want to know what happened last year, the great thing about a podcast on iTunes and and subscribe us is that you can go back to last year in the Jedi archives, so to speak, and find that show.
So looking,
yeah, exactly. It was. It would have been. I think it's our October 27th. Yes,
there you go.
The October 27th.
So one day earlier this year, then. One day earlier, folks, you get this list.
Looking back through my notes to find it, I have it up in front of me, but the note right before this one only says best 80s sax riffs. So I don't know what I was thinking of at the time, but apparently 80s saxophone music.
Oh, sorry. It was October 20th.
Oh, okay. So we're way.
If you go to
later.
October 27th, it's an episode that doesn't have Will in it. So.
No, I was in it. I broadcasted live
at the
from
beginning.
the ferry terminal.
That's right.
That's true.
Ian talked about his Spider-Man costume that his mom made him.
It melted.
Oh, yeah.
Melted.
Guys, this is the 80th episode of the podcast, by the way.
Speaking of the 80s, there you go.
Congratulations, gentlemen.
80s. Yeah, exactly.
We're 80 years old.
A nice 80. So last year's list, A to Z, was Alien, Braindead, Candyman, Demons, The Exorcist, Fright Night, Ghostbusters, Halloween / Hellraiser, Insidious, Jaws, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Lost Boys / Leprechaun, Midnight Meat Train / Monster Squad. See, I did too many slashes last year.
It's a slasher.
Yeah. Near Dark, The Others, Poltergeist, Quarantine, Ravenous, Slither, Troll 2, Undead, VHS 2, Warlock, X, The Man with the X-Ray Eyes, Young Frankenstein, and Zombie.
Oh, thanks for bringing up Zombie, because I mistakenly credited 2 weeks ago a review to Cinemassacre. It did not belong to Cinemassacre. It was the Cinema Snob. Yeah. And Ian and I watched that together.
That was a good one.
Pretty funny video. So apologies to the Cinema Snob, who guaranteed doesn't listen to this show. So there you go.
Never know.
So that was last year's list. Again, if you want to listen to the whole in-depth discussion, then check it out. Especially us talking about a segment in VHS 2 that was amazing.
That was good.
It was amazing. Anyway, this year we present horror movies A to Z, and what I mean, we present. Ian presents it. So we'll fire away, and we got time. So this is gonna go 2 or 3, 4, 7 hours probably.
11 and a half.
11 and a half hours.
11.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's gonna be Lord of the Rings marathon. All right, buddy.
I love it.
Shoot from the hip.
Okay. In a hole in the ground, there lived
There lived a hole. It wasn't a sticky hole full of worms. It was a nice
and that means comfort.
Yeah, that means comfort.
So I'm going to start off with A as a shameless self-promotion for a little film called Afflicted.
Yes.
Which was a found footage film that a fellow that I worked with in the restaurant for years, his name's Derek Lee, him and... Oop, we've lost it. Something popped. Are we back? We're back.
I can
We're
hear you.
back.
I've
Yeah,
heard
he
the whole time.
was back. We just
Okay,
lost
our
our headphone jack.
Headphones went down there.
Our headphone jack is jacked up, bro.
But the two of them were friends for years and years and years, and they made sort of movies with each other together. And
This is Derek and Cliff. Is that
Derek
what
and
you're saying?
Cliff, yeah.
Got it, yeah.
And they got a grant from, I believe it was Telefilm Canada, to go off and shoot a found footage horror film in Europe. And so they went off and they shot this really neat found footage film all about a couple of guys. One friend discovers that he's terminally ill, and they decide that whirlwind trip that they've been putting off doing, they're not going to put off anymore. They're going to go do it because Derek doesn't know how much longer he has. So they just go over and they do it, and Derek ends up becoming afflicted with a certain condition that some might call vampirism. And it's sort of it starts off as a travel blog and becomes this weird sort of documenting of Derek slowly changing, and really, really fun, really amazing effects. There's some incredible first person camera work done in it, like stunt wise, jumping out of windows and stuff that I still don't know how they did.
I think they won an award too. I think they won a Leo Award for best stunts.
Yeah, I think they did.
Something like that.
Michael Gill's in that. The president from House of Cards
Ooh,
was in that.
Mr. Michael
When I
Gill.
see IMDb tells me
And he plays himself.
he does play himself.
Keep scrolling down the list, and you scroll down the list. You see that Ian Hanlin plays Jeff.
That'd be Jeff.
Jeff, nice.
Yes.
Can you give us a hint as to what the character of Jeff is?
So Jeff, if you
What
stick
is
around after
Jeff?
the credits,
How does Jeff feel? What is Jeff's favorite word? What is Jeff's least favorite color?
What's your actor secret for
I
that?
think my actor's secret for Jeff was trying to pretend that it wasn't March when I was wearing a tank top at 3:00 in the morning.
There you go. See? That's acting. Right
It was
there.
freezing cold, and I had to pretend it was delightfully warm Italy. And that was, although one of the poor girls who was with us had to repeatedly jump into an outdoor pool, and we could all see our breath, so I felt infinitely worse for her. But it's a great little movie, and it's a cool sort of. I think in a lot of ways the whole found footage horror thing has really sort of run itself ragged, but this is a pretty nice usage of it, and it's neat. It's worth checking out. It's on Netflix at the moment too. So
And it's Canadian.
Nice
Canadian horror film.
Good
starring,
Good Canadian horror film.
featuring a friend of the show. Oh, it's cast by Carr. Oh, there you go.
Oh yeah.
And it's got Doreen. Oh, there you go. All right, right on. Right on.
Yeah.
All right, so that's A.
That's our A. So for B comes one of the most sort of lauded horror films of the last year, which is The Babadook, which is an Australian horror film. Really, really well put together. And basically the premise of The Babadook is it's this single mother raising, I believe, like an 8-year-old son. And he's a huge handful. He's running around all the time, yelling, banging on pots, like very sort of Where the Wild Things Are type kid. And she goes to read him a story one night, and he runs over to the bookshelf and comes back with this storybook that she's never seen before called The Babadook. And she says, "Where did you get this?" And he says, "I don't know, it was on the shelf." And so she reads it, and it's this children's story about this person called Mr. Babadook. And there's a line at the very beginning of the story that's, if it's in a word or it's in a book, you can't get rid of the Babadook. And it basically plays on the whole thing of don't think of a polar bear. Because
not a one.
because once you're aware of the Babadook, he won't go away. He can't go away.
It's kind of like the Star Wars thing for me.
Exactly.
Once I think of it, it can't go away.
It's there forever.
It's there forever.
It's the sort of Damocles. So she slowly has this like breakdown, and the movie's done in such a way that you're constantly questioning whether or not the Babadook is real or if she's just having sort of a mental crisis.
If it's in her head, yeah.
And she starts seeing it, and it's this very, very creepy looking thing that they come up with, and they use it sparingly enough that it's frightening when you see it, and it's not silly, and
they don't over show the monster too much. That's smart.
It really has this feeling of being like a sort of spooky bedtime story, and it's terrific. It's really worth a look.
I just don't know how scary Australian people would be. Like, oh no, here comes a Babadook.
Some sort of spectre over the bed.
No, I didn't imagine it. It was real. I know.
Thought it was a dingo, but it's just some Babadook.
Turns out it was a Babadook, and I know what that is.
Blimey.
Babadook. Yeah.
So the Babadook, yeah, great.
I heard a lot about this.
Great little flick. One of the better new films on the list. And then moving down to C, we get to one of my favorites ever, which is Creepshow. And Creepshow is a co-production between Stephen King and George Romero, and it's a anthology film. And I love horror anthologies. So it's 5 short stories over like a 2-hour movie. So it's like reading those scary stories for sleepovers books and stuff like that, where it's, okay, maybe that one wasn't your favorite, but this next one's really cool, and you can watch it a bunch of times, and you have all these favorites. And
this is a crazy movie. I love it.
Oh, it's super 80s.
Yeah.
It's based on basically the EC comics of sort of Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror, all that kind of stuff, of these really over-the-top, super stylized, neon-colored horror tropes.
Also features the powerful acting of Stephen King.
And Leslie Nielsen.
And Ted Danson and Ed Harris.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
The cast is great.
It's huge. And Tom Savini as the Garbage Man.
The Garbage Man.
It's really, really terrific. And it's a ton of fun. I tried to make this list a nice balance between movies that are legitimately scary and movies that are just fun to watch. Because a big part of scary movies for me is that you want that sort of balance of some of them are just silly.
Yeah.
Like last night I showed my sister The Return of the Living Dead for the first time.
Oh yeah.
She'd never seen it, and it's a total comedy of just, it's where brains came from, with the zombies who eat the brains.
Yeah.
And it's just
great
silly.
effects too.
Oh yeah.
That movie's awesome.
It's great, and it's just funny, and it's fun to watch. You can put it on and not take it too seriously.
Yeah.
And Creepshow sort of falls into that category as well.
Yeah, and it's very well directed. Creepshow is fun, and that's one of the good things about horror too, is that it really lends itself to anthologies.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so.
Which is great. I mean, we do the ABC horror list. There's been 2 ABCs of death so far, and I think they've done like their 3rd VHS anthology set.
I think so. They better get to DVD pretty soon,
right? Yeah, because Blu-ray. I mean, they're already missing out on Blu-ray, and then they're gonna have to go streaming.
Exactly,
streaming.
Or
it's not like very scary time.
Betamax, Laserdisc,
Zuproxoscope.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
I'd be into that.
Yeah, right? Zuproxoscope. That'd be sweet.
Turn the crank.
The elephant walks, and then it stops walking.
Yeah.
And then it walks again.
So, Creepshow. Highly recommend it for, people who really like scary stuff or people who don't particularly like scary stuff. It's just fun.
Good balance, yeah.
Next up for D is A Combo Platter.
Here we go. There's a lot of D horror movies.
Yeah, plenty. And this is from the director of Creepshow, George A. Romero, and it's a combo between Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead was his color sequel to Night of the Living Dead, which was a cult film that he tragically gets no rights to because at the last minute they changed the title. And the title card that they changed it to didn't have the copyright on it, so they lost all rights.
That's loophole, really?
That's how they lost the rights to it, which is why Night of the Living Dead is public domain.
Which is good for us and bad for George.
It's true. I have about 4 different copies of Night of the Living Dead because it's like $1, because anyone can slap it on a DVD and sell it.
Holy cow.
But then he followed that up with Dawn of the Dead, which was his sort of critique on the consumer culture that was popping up in the 70s.
Yeah.
And at the time, indoor malls were this really, really weird new novelty thing.
It's hard to imagine indoor malls as a new novelty thing.
I know, yeah.
They're so ingrained in our culture.
And he and his wife were being given a tour of one of these malls by a friend of theirs who owned one. And the person said, you could survive in here if you had to. And so he sort of went, haha, just add zombies. And
sure, and have people surviving in there.
Yeah, so he sort of took this zombie thing that he had put together in the first movie and turned it into a survival movie set in a mall, which is then it's such a no-brainer once you hear the concept.
No-brainer.
It's so great.
Zombies.
Sorry.
Well, like an eat brain.
But I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a mall and be like, this one gets a B- in zombie defensibility.
You
like
see up there, I could tell that would be a problem here. See, let's check the lock. Nope, locks are a little shoddy on this door.
Micmac is good because you could throw them from their food court.
Micmac's decent. I've done my due diligence on Micmac.
He's got a notepad. He's sussing it out.
Sons of
Oh
Darkness.
yeah,
Exactly.
Penhorn was trash, but Micmac you could hold.
Oh,
up.
Penhorn. Oh, that would. It's like a zombie alley fight.
Oh, it's a buffet line.
I can picture an epic final confrontation though on that playground set that they used to have.
Oh, and the guy's just rocking back and forth on the horse with like a hatchet or something.
That'd be sweet.
This much, like just less than an inch of foam from a tile. I think that'll protect you.
That'd be great.
And he has to hole up and things engraved and
Yeah.
get it done. Or the NASCAR store.
Yeah, and he engraves his name on a zombie's face, and that's how he kills him.
That's true.
Dawn of the Dead, which also featured what I thought was a pretty damn good remake.
Yeah.
As far as it goes, I'm not a huge fan of the director now, unfortunately, but we'll see what he does with Batman and Superman. But Zack Snyder did the remake in 2004, which is pretty awesome, which I suppose to many zombie purists featured a controversial choice to have the zombies run. They're able to run.
Yeah, at first I was really against the whole running zombie thing, and now I don't really care.
Yeah.
It's fine. Personally, my preferred one is always the slow kind of Jason Voorhees one of like, how did they get it in front of us? Where it becomes what makes it so scary is that they're everywhere and they're just going to keep growing in numbers.
Yeah.
But Dawn of the Dead is just a great movie. The original is much more of a slow burn. The director's cut of it is about 2.5 hours long. Like, it's a long, long movie. And the remake is, I think, about 1 hour and 45 minutes.
It's brisk.
It's brisk. It's more action-packed. And honestly...
It's got more Ving Rhames.
Yeah. Honestly, the original's certainly worth a watch. But if you're only going to watch one, then probably watch the remake. It's great. It's really good.
More suitable for today's audience.
Yeah. And it's got Ty Burrell in it. So, hey.
He was hilarious.
And then he followed up Dawn of the Dead with Day of the Dead, which is a much sort of... Dawn of the Dead ends with sort of a hopeful, like, well, maybe we can survive this thing. And then Day of the Dead was what he did in the 80s. And it's basically surrounds a handful of military and science personnel who are holed up in an underground missile silo in Florida. And for all they know, they're the last living human beings on the planet. It's basically... the movie where hope is lost, and what do you do when there's no chance? Where we're not going to fix it, what are we going to do? And it's really, really, really amazing effects. Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger worked on it as assistants to Tom Savini, who was the special effects supervisor, and they're now superstars. They started K&B, and they've done every gore or special effect in every movie ever since 1991. I mean, they're superstars.
Like Nicotero's IMDb page is outrageous.
Oh, it's extraordinary stuff. And that movie is kind of really, I mean, it's gross. The first time I watched it, I swore I'd never watch it again because it was so gross. But it's become a favorite of mine.
I haven't checked this one out. I need to check this one out.
It's good. I've got it. And also the main zombie, Bub, who is sort of a scientist is attempting to domesticate him, is played by the same actor who gets the Junior Mint dropped inside of him on Seinfeld.
Perfect.
There's a little fun fact for you to sort of take the sting off of it.
That's great. Now, I'm wondering why they did a Dawn of the Dead remake. I'm wondering why they didn't kind of do a Day.
I think they did. Day of the Dead didn't do very well, and I think it's because it's really downbeat. It's a downbeat, angry movie. It's not optimistic, but it is, for a horror movie, it achieves what it sets out to do. And I like it quite a bit. It's also shorter. I think it's only like 1 hour and 40 minutes.
There you go.
So it's a quicker watch than Dawn of the Dead.
It's brisk.
Yeah, but they're terrific movies and a whole lot of they inspired a lot of stuff. We can thank or blame them for the influx of zombie movies that we've gotten now.
Well, it's more zombie shows now.
Yeah, that's true.
With Walking Dead, I know Nicotero doesn't disagree with that.
The goof. And then, moving on to E, we have something else that is going to become quite relevant on television, which is Evil Dead 2.
Yes. 2.
Yeah.
Yes. Specifically 2.
The only one that's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Actually,
well,
besides the Evil Dead reboot.
the remake. Yeah,
which is sick.
Like it a lot.
Sick, man.
Like it a lot.
But Evil Dead 2 is another one of those
Yeah.
horror comedies. I'd say comedy first and horror second.
Oh, it's
hilarious.
It's a Looney Tunes cartoon with blood in it. It's really
Yeah.
it's hysterically funny.
It is.
And just super over the top. The first one they made, it's very much a straight up horror movie, and it's great. But as far as the most fun to watch, Evil Dead 2. It's got to be Evil Dead 2. The classic sort of a bunch of friends go out to a cabin in the woods. They find a book. They read from the book. It wakes up demons in the woods. They slowly get possessed. They have to survive. It's awesome.
That old chestnut.
He loses his hand. He has to make himself a chainsaw hand.
Well, his hand becomes possessed. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He has to get rid of it.
No.
Otherwise, his own hand will kill him.
It's true.
Yeah.
Much like the movie Idle Hands.
Yes, and his hand even makes a little noise too.
Yeah. I think it's
Yeah,
kind of like
what-
a Cousin It type.
Yeah, except it's much more vulgar. It flips into the bird at one point.
A number of times.
A number of times. It's very offensive. But yeah, Ash versus the Evil Dead coming to
for Stars.
Stars with a Z. Soon? When does that start?
I think it premieres on Halloween night, actually.
As it ought to.
Yeah.
As it ought to. Well, there you go. So
very
yeah,
excited.
it's come back in a big bad way.
Yep. Sam Raimi directed the pilot.
There you go. Yeah, I saw the trailer
there you
for it,
go.
and it looks very, very much in the vein of the movies.
Oh, yeah, I love them. And, I mean, I came into the Evil Dead franchise through Army of Darkness. I think a lot of people did, which is even sillier than Evil Dead 2 in a lot of ways. But
Yeah.
Evil Dead 2 is really kind of the gold standard of that franchise. And, you get groovy and all that kind of stuff in there. And
You get all the catchphrases.
Ted Raimi being all wacky, wearing a monster suit.
Yes, as a lady. Yeah, not afraid to cross-dress. So I guess Ash would be like the Han Solo in Ash versus the Evil Dead, where he's like, "That's true with me and the zombies. It's so true.
What happened? Live in a trailer now.
Had a hand was possessed." And he goes on and on. So Evil Dead 2, I figure most people have seen it. If not, definitely check it out.
If not, it's great background fodder for your Halloween party.
Oh, it's great.
Even if no one's watching it, just fire it on.
Because someone's going to look at the TV at one point and be like, "What the hell is going on in this movie?" It's like, yeah, man, it's Evil Dead 2.
Exactly. So following up that one, we go much more classic and traditional with Universal's Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
What year is this one?
Oh,
30.
Yeah.
Come on, IMDb, tell us.
Come on, man. Save us all.
Come on, IMDb, don't let me down.
31. Hey, it's how old I am.
This is, of course, the Boris Karloff classic. The role originally offered to Bela Lugosi, who'd just done Dracula, but he turned it down because he didn't like the idea of a character who didn't speak. And then everybody fell in love with Boris Karloff, and people started liking Frankenstein more than Dracula.
It's great on the title card because obviously the famous misinterpretation is that Frankenstein is the name of the monster, but Frankenstein is actually the name of the doctor. But I also read there's a passage in the book that's like, anything I create will bear my name or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, you can call him Frankenstein, I guess. But in the title card in the movie, he's credited as just the monster. And even Karloff didn't even get credited, I don't think, in the opening. Maybe at
In the
end.
opening, he doesn't. Because it says the monster question mark. Yeah.
Which is so terrifying for audiences in the 30s. Like, you figure he got a real monster
It
out
could
there?
be real, see?
Oh, goodness. It's just thrills and chills.
Yes.
And even a spell.
After that Kaiser Wilhelm character, who knows what's possible?
Like, it's got this great creepy shot of him, like, walking in on, like, a bride getting dressed, and, like, they do, like, 3 kind of punch-ins to him.
Yeah.
With no music at all. It's just silently just punches in 3 times. Apparently really freaks some people out back then.
Oh, it was terrifying because people had no sort of baseline for that sort of thing, and the makeup was really. I mean, it's iconic.
It's super iconic.
The Frankenstein's monster in Universal's Frankenstein became the gold standard to the extent that if you see Frankenstein's monster done any differently now, you go, no, the bolts are supposed to be here. They're not supposed to be up here. So it's
Well, Hammer Horror just went nuts on the thing.
Oh,
they gave him so many different iterations.
Oh yeah. Because why not? He's a patchwork quilt of a person. Why not make him
like
look
Christopher? Yeah, exactly. He's a patchwork quilt, as many grannies would agree.
It's tragic. The sequel is also really excellent too. The Bride of
Frankenstein's awesome.
Is terrific movie
With Igor. Yeah, and Bela Lugosi's in that one.
This is true. As Igor, or he's got like a weird name.
It's
like,
Igor, I think, but he voices over Frankenstein as monster at one point.
Yeah, he was an odd duck. That Bela Lugosi.
Well, he's Hungarian, so you know.
Yeah, so right there, whatever.
You know what they say.
Yeah. So I mean, and Frankenstein, another terrific one to have on in the background of a Halloween party, just because it's so Halloweeny and the black and white sort of almost sepia tone is great.
Yeah.
Moving on to G, this is one of those sort of straddling the line type movies in the same vein as Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's Gremlins. Joe Dante's Gremlins, which takes place at Christmas, but I've always thought of it as more of a horror movie or a light horror movie than a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
The original draft as well was written as a full-on R-rated horror movie, and then they sort of dialed it back once Spielberg got involved as a producer. But just a ton of fun. You know, the little gremlins used to really scare the heck out of me when I was a kid. I think it's Frank Welker does the voice of Spike or Stripe.
Yeah, and Gizmo probably.
No, Gizmo's Howie Mandel, actually.
Oh yeah, he was.
Doing his weird little pre-Bobby's World thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, really, really great movie. Phoebe Cates.
Oh, for sure.
You lucky man, Kevin Kline.
Kevin Kline. What do you have that I don't?
What is? Oh, millions of dollars. And charm to spare.
Also features one of the best background gags ever, as the dad is at a science conference, and in the background you see somebody checking out H.G. Wells's Time Machine from the movie, and he's on a phone conversation with his wife. Cuts back to the wife being like, I don't know, and then cuts back to him. The time machine is gone, and everyone's looking around for it.
And there's like smoke all over the floor.
It's on YouTube. It's hilarious, and it's just a pure background gag. Also, shout out to Hulk Hogan and Gremlins 2 when the Gremlins are in the movie theater and stop Gremlins 2 from playing. So as wacky as Gremlins 1 is, Gremlins 2 is way over the top.
Oh, it's a carnival.
It's such a carnival where they break the fourth wall and Hulk Hogan's eating popcorn. He's like, now, turn off Gremlins 2 again, bro.
Yeah, I think he goes for the full Hogan shirt tear in that as
I think
well.
he does, yeah. You got to.
You have to. I mean, if you get
Just add Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, great time. And I mean, aside from one really sort of awkward speech that takes place in the middle of it and kind of stops the movie dead.
Yeah.
Fun for the whole family. Next up for H is a movie called House. And House is a really weird, again, kind of in the vein of... No, that's the Japanese one. Yep. In the vein of Evil Dead 2, where it's a former Vietnam veteran. I believe he like inherits this old house, and in the house is basically it's full of doorways to other dimensions, and so these weird... He's at this weird sort of fulcrum point where all of these universes intersect.
Yes.
And so
it's always good to be in the Nexus.
Yeah, you'll open like a door to a bathroom and there's like a pterodactyl in there, or like, you know...
Like, sorry, didn't know it was occupied.
You go up into the attic and there's some crazy like zombie colonel that he was in Vietnam with and stuff like that. And it's super, super funny, and the effects in it are really great. It's all practical, like makeup effects and, you know, rubber suits and stuff like that. Lots and lots of fun. And another kind of... I think the first time I saw that was on Space on the Friday Night Frightmare.
I miss the Frightmare.
I miss it so much.
I miss the Frightmare. Hopefully Space will bring it back. There needs to be more horror on TV stat.
I concur.
AMC does like their Halloween marathon.
Yeah,
of all the Halloweens, like 4 or 5.
That's true. Although there's only really
H2O.
2 good Halloween movies.
Yeah.
1 and 3. But, yeah. So yeah, House is a great time. For this might have been my favorite movie of the year, actually.
Oh, I think I know what one.
And it's called It Follows. Really, really simple premise. Really, really sort of simple script, but just the execution of it and the feel of it is so effective. It's like the best episode of Are You Afraid of the Dark that never got made. Basically, this girl has this encounter with this guy, and he tells her afterwards, I've passed this curse on to you now, and somewhere...
It's a weird pickup line.
I know, it really is. Somewhere, there's this thing, and it can look like anybody, and it's walking straight towards you. And it will never stop. It will never run, but it will never stop coming after you. And if it ever gets to you, it'll kill you. And the only way to get rid of it is to just keep passing the curse forward and forward and forward and forward and forward. So it's this sort of like STD allegory at its base, but it's just so well executed and so well done, and it's got this really dreamy sort of nightmare quality to it, where things make sense, but there are edges missing from the picture, and it sort of bleeds over. It's really, really well done, and the soundtrack is terrifying. Can't recommend it highly enough. I finally showed it to my sister the other day, and she was like, I was really scared to watch it, but it's just a really excellent movie. And I was like, okay. Good.
Yeah, Sarah was gushing about it. She's like, have you seen it, Follows? I was like, I haven't seen it yet. Ian keeps going on about it, but I'm definitely going to have to check it out this year.
It's terrific, yeah. McIntyre just sent me a message yesterday being like, I don't know if you've heard of this movie at Follows, but it's pretty good.
You're like, yeah, I've been there.
As a matter of fact, I do.
As a matter of fact, I do.
Yeah, so, yeah, It Follows... I'll let the movie speak for itself.
Yeah, another recent one.
Yeah. So going back a little further now and sort of hopping over the ocean, my J is Ju-on, which was remade as The Grudge in the States with Sarah Michelle.
Yeah, with Buffy herself.
Sarah Michelle Gellar. But the original Japanese film, I think, is much, much more frightening. Maybe it's because subtitled horror movies are scarier because it just seems more real, because even if they're bad actors, I can't tell.
You have no idea.
Because it's...
All right. Yeah.
Like,
so what's the difference?
You could almost say that it's a shot-for-shot remake of the movie, but something about the fact that the Japanese version has less of a budget and it just feels a little more authentic and a little less polished really helps, I think, get the sort of scare across. And just something about a star that star asterisk, that we know so well as like Sarah Michelle Gellar sort of being there, it just takes you out of it a little bit more than seeing this full-on Japanese ghost story take place.
It's like she's a movie and TV star, whereas you watch the Japanese version, you're like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah, this is just like scary things happening to people.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the catch-22 of watching horror movies, or movies in general, I guess. But yeah, really, really, really spooky. It was kind of at the beginning of the whole... if you want something to be scary, just have a little Japanese kid paint their face pasty white and just flip their hair over their face.
Yeah, make them meow like a cat.
Yeah, and it was kind of before that got overplayed. But yeah, Ju-on is definitely worth a watch and worth checking out.
Nice.
My K is Fully Ridiculous, and also is being remade right now, and that is King Kong versus Godzilla.
That's a horror movie? Who you categorize?
Well,
it's a monster movie.
See, I went back and forth with it a bunch, and I followed the James Rolfe model of going, you know what, it's
got
Halloween enough.
Yeah.
Sure.
That I was like, okay, yeah, fine. But yeah, dumb movie. Godzilla would win immediately. He can breathe fire, so... But still...
Yeah, he's way bigger, too, isn't he?
Enormously bigger.
Yeah.
Like, orders of magnitude larger than King Kong.
Yeah.
But they are... an agreement was struck between Universal and Warner Brothers, and they're doing a series of films now...
Oh, they crossed the aisle.
...based on the new Godzilla, and the next one that they're working on right now is King Kong versus Godzilla.
So is this Peter Jackson's King Kong against the, what's his name's Godzilla? Or is this a different thing altogether?
Because Skull Island is happening, too.
Yeah.
So I think it's just going to be a crossover. So I think it's going to be that King Kong, this Godzilla.
Yeah, you are right, though. He would breathe fire.
I like this Godzilla.
I do, too. I quite enjoyed the new Godzilla.
Yeah, she was great.
I like that it was enormous.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, huge.
She was very large, yeah.
Yeah.
So these guys going to wreak a lot of havoc. King Kong versus Godzilla.
Or Kingu Kongu Taigo Jiro.
Taigo Jiro, like
the costumes are so pathetic.
Yeah, the King Kong costume looks really weird.
They're really bad. Like it seems like they couldn't get the old costumes back, so they were like, "All right, you know what they look like, right?" And a guy just tried to make it from memory in his basement.
Here's a great tagline that you can tell is very poorly translated. The motion picture screen beckons you to adventure that thrills the emotions with shock and terror.
Yes.
Someone didn't really grammar check that.
2 scoops of yes.
2 scoops of yes there. So
that movie for me. Big fan of.
That'd be a good one to watch in D-Box with the crazy chairs that go all over the place.
It could be. I mean, that one really sort of epitomizes the put it on in the background and totally don't pay attention to it type movies of Halloween, because I mean a lot of the Godzilla movies, especially the old Toho ones, are almost unwatchably boring. And then every once in a while Godzilla shows up and he's like, "Yeah, screw you, building," and like kicks a building, and then it cuts back to a scientist who's trying to build a boat or something like that. It's
like, yeah, we don't care about you, buddy.
Yeah, they're not the best, but it's fun. So my L is a movie that came out a few years ago and also got a remake, although the remake wasn't the best. But the original is called Let the Right One In, which I believe is based on a novel. But the premise essentially, I think it takes place in Russia or somewhere, Siberia.
Yeah, I like the director was the same guy who did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I feel like it's Czech or something like that.
Yeah.
He's Swedish. The director's Swedish.
So Swede could be Swede.
Thomas Alfredson is Swedish?
Yeah. No relation to Daniel.
Thomas. So essentially the premise is there's this boy, he sort of lives in this housing project, and one day this new girl moves in, and he's just kind of fascinated by her, and they start spending more and more time together, and he slowly realizes that she's a vampire. And it's one of the best done vampire stories I've ever seen. It really kind of took it and twisted it. It played with that whole thing of, which they sort of touched on in Interview with the Vampire with Kirsten Dunst, when it's like she got bitten when she was 10.
Yeah.
So she's perpetually 10. She's like, I'm 200 years old is the word. And they kind of, play on that a bit with this one too. But just seeing the kind of the realities of what it would take to sort of survive centuries as a vampire if you had somebody helping you, where it's like, I need my Renfield. I need somebody to go out there and, because I can't do it all the time. And it's seeing the toll that it would take on the people around the vampire is kind of what the movie's about. And it's really pretty brilliant. And it's basically like a tragic love story between these two kids. And one of them is, hundreds of years old. So,
and then the remake, Let Me In.
Yes.
Right, stars our good close personal friend Chloe Grace Moretz.
I was hanging with her the other day.
Yeah, right? Yeah, at Starbucks.
And I think Cody Smith McPhee.
Oh, Cody Smith McPhee?
AKA...
With his picture with our good friend Ben Mendelsohn?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
It's Cody Smith McPhee.
Guys better recognize. Sorry, now it just sounds like Sylvester.
Yeah, it's true. He's slowly becoming Sylvester, isn't he? That one, it's fine, but it's a remake that didn't need to exist. It's one of those, the foreign film is excellent, and the only reason to remake it is because people don't like reading subtitles.
Yeah, and make more money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, the original, terrific and melancholy, but great movie. Moving on to my M is it's my second sort of slashy. Model / actor.
And not the other way around.
Not the other way around. For M is a combo between Manhunter and Mr. Brooks.
The one starring Dane Cook?
Yes. And Kevin Costner.
Yes, that's right.
The Manhunter, I'm really curious about.
Manhunter is excellent. It's a novel based on, a movie based on the novel Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. Which was later remade as Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. And it basically follows Will Graham, who is the FBI detective who captured Hannibal Lecter, as he follows another serial killer called the Tooth Fairy. And it's such an awesome 80s looking movie. There's so much neon in it, and it's Michael Mann, directed it, and it's super stylized, super 80s. There's this really cool pop music in it. It almost feels like a proto version of American Psycho in some ways.
Yeah.
In its sort of juxtaposition of like really upbeat pop music with really terrible things.
Yeah.
Really great. William Peterson as the lead before CSI came along.
Yeah.
And
Joan Allen, Brian Cox.
But I mean, really, the star of the movie is Tom Noonan, who plays Francis Dollarhide. He's super creepy. He's not the sort of stereotypical frightening movie monster, and they really changed him from the book, where he's supposed to be like a bodybuilder. But he just works fantastically, and he's just super off-putting. And they have the first screen appearance of Hannibal Lecter, which is played by Brian Cox in the film. Yeah. Very different than the Anthony Hopkins version that we got.
They spell it differently, too.
Yeah. They spelled it Lecktor.
Just like, all right, sure.
It's kind of weird. He's kind of like, I'm Hannibal Lecter. What are you going to do about it? Yeah. Will Graham, you put me in here. I don't like you. I'm
going to eat you.
Yes. Quid pro quo, Will Graham. But he's very good. And the movie's terrific and very much worth a watch. And Mr. Brooks was a movie that surprised me quite a bit. It's about Kevin Costner is this, I think he's like a dentist or something like that. But he has...
What's about a scary dentist who like drills people's like mouths when they don't want them to?
Dr. Giggles.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers that video, even though no one saw it.
Yeah.
But he might not be a dentist. But he has a split personality, and the split personality is a serial killer. And so he goes out, he has these compulsions, and he goes out and he does these things. And this guy has been sort of following him, and it's Dane Cook. And he's like, hey, I'm into the things you do. Can you show me how to do the things you do? And he kind of takes him on as like a protege. And it's pretty cool. It's a neat, weird little movie that I didn't think I'd like at all. And it's pretty cool.
Well, sometimes you have to venture into waters you don't want to swim in to find out that you rather enjoy them.
That's true.
Right?
That's true. Like the Bahamas.
It's a metaphor for life.
So I put those two together as kind of like representations of the sort of realistic monster.
The monster that dwells within all of us, maybe.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
Followed up by the complete opposite in terms of reality. And this one actually comes on something of a somber note because we lost a real hero and maestro of horror this year.
Yep.
When Mr. Wes Craven passed away.
Yep.
Quite suddenly. And he was hugely influential to the genre and to pop culture in general. I mean, a lot of people get sort of super lucky and manage to get one franchise that they're known for. He got two.
Yeah.
One of them being the Scream films, which a lot of people love those movies, and they really kind of were the first movies to attack horror from a meta perspective, where it accepted the fact that what if the people in horror movies had ever seen a horror movie before and didn't act like complete idiots?
Yeah.
But his first real massive mainstream success, and my favorite film of his, is A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Incredible premise. You know, I think it's the sort of thing that's really easily taken for granted now, how it's like, oh yeah, Freddy Krueger gets you in your dreams. That's a brilliant horror premise to just come up with. It's, you know, the inevitability of sleep, how close sleep is to death. It's this really kind of excellent bit of psychology he's got going on. And then coming up with one of, you know, cinema's greatest villains in Freddy Krueger is... it was lightning in a bottle, and, you know, discovering Johnny Depp in that first movie too. So,
yeah, Johnny Depp and then Robert Englund, who held on to that character throughout all his many Nightmare iterations,
with the exception of
the remake,
yeah,
with Jackie Earle Haley, yeah,
who tried,
who tried, and that movie wasn't his fault.
He was the best part of that movie.
He was the best part of it, but Nightmare is. I don't know if I've seen it all the way through. I think I have because I've seen bits and pieces, so I can cobble it together. But
yeah,
I definitely would like to revisit it. And then the sequels got out there.
Well, they got progressively sillier and sillier,
which they had to, really.
Yeah, and they really kind of turned him into the MTV generation. You know,
Well, he raps, doesn't he? Doesn't he have a rap song?
he raps with the Fat Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
boy.
He literally starts a rap with, "Well, my name is Freddie, and I'm here to say I'm the scariest guy in the USA." Like, he literally starts a rap that way.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
That's sick.
But in the first movie, the jokes it's all very, very black humor. Like, it's the fact that he's joking around makes him scarier.
It's like, you think this is funny? This is horrible. What are you doing, you psycho?
It's played very, very straight in the first movie, and then by the time you get to, I think, the fourth one, he's got the power glove on, and he's going, "Now I'm playing with power," and he's like taking people out.
But his backstory is very dark.
Yes, incredibly one of the darkest, and it really kind of justifies. It's a tight script. The whole plot of that first movie is a really tightly woven thing where his motivations make sense. The motivations of the parents make sense. The motivations of the children make sense. It's really, really well put together, and it is kind of essential viewing in sort of the pantheon of horror.
Also, one of the best inspirations for a Treehouse of Horror sketch.
Oh yeah,
Please, please, William, Mr. Van Houten has the floor. Just sits there burning to death.
I, for one, would like to see the cafeteria menus in advance. I don't like the idea of Millhouse having 2 spaghetti meals in one day.
Yeah. So it's a terrific movie and a huge bucket of wind, to quote.
That's right,
Kevin
Mr. Smith. Yep.
In that one there. Moving on to O, we turn to WWE films for Oculus.
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 This is a mirror that Adam Rose looked into when he was a big party guy. Adam Rose gazed into the Oculus mirror, and he saw himself in a suit, which is very much against his partying ways. It was terrifying to him. So this is about a mirror. You look in it, and it scares you. What's in it? It scares you.
It's a haunted mirror, and it can possess you. It can show you things, and basically, it's mostly concerned with its own self-preservation. So the whole premise of the film is set up. It's this brother and sister. The brother's just been released from prison for the supposed murder of his parents when they were kids. And his sister picks him up, and they go back to the old house, and there's this mirror there, and she's got this whole thing set up because the two of them are convinced that the mirror killed their parents, and he was blamed for it and sent away to jail. So tonight they're going to finally destroy the mirror.
Well, the old mirror defense is pretty shoddy in court. It doesn't really hold up.
Yeah, I may be a simple country lawyer. That evil mirror is to blame. So the whole thing is kind of like flashing back and forth between when they were kids and what happened, and sort of now as they're trying to set up a foolproof way of destroying the thing. And it was pretty good, I have to say. The ending's a little but it's a fun ride.
It's hard to get a really good horror ending.
Yeah.
It is. Like, a lot of them just kind of like, and then either what you expected happened or something completely out there happened or nothing happened.
I think it's why I like the anthology so much, because they stop and then another one starts right away.
Sure.
So you don't have to worry about, like, did that one really end? Who cares? We're on to a new one now.
Yeah. Sea monsters came after him. That's how it ended.
Exactly.
Yeah, it turned into a plant. That's how it ended.
Yeah.
These are all creep show spoilers, by the way.
Ooh, yeah. Oculus, nice showing, WWE films.
That's right. Probably next to The Call, probably one of their only quality films.
Yeah.
Except for Leprechaun Origins with
Hornswoggle.
Dylan Postel.
Yeah, but Oculus is fun. It's also on Netflix at the moment too.
There you go. So check it out on the NF.
Worth checking out. So moving on to P, we have Phantasm.
Yes. The inspiration for Captain Phasma from Force Awakens. It is because she had like she has the chrome suit, and like, it looks like the Phantasm ball, I guess.
And the Phantasm ball is, of course, the inspiration for BB-8.
Yes, as we all know.
So Phantasm is another movie that is purposefully designed to feel the way a nightmare feels when you're watching the movie. So it feels like this bad dream, and there's huge leaps in logic that once they happen, the characters just completely go along with them. You know what I mean? Where it's like you'll be talking to someone who you know is your 4th grade English teacher or whatever. Not that they were English teachers. Anyway, like your 4th grade teacher, And then quite suddenly, your fourth grade teacher is Shaquille O'Neal, and of course your fourth grade teacher is Shaquille. Like, there's those kind of jumps in logic, and then, suddenly you're playing for, the Harlem Globetrotters or whatever.
Yeah.
And, so it's just this very weird sort of moving along type thing that ends up being this boy spotting a conspiracy of this incredibly tall man who works at a funeral home. And what they're doing is they're taking the bodies from the cemetery and throwing them into another dimension.
It's like the idea of throwing them into another dimension.
To feed to Jawas.
Ah.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, like little tiny people
films?
in cloaks in a desert on this other planet.
Oh, so they could be dink dinks.
They could be.
Yeah.
When do we get to Disneyland? It's super, super silly, and the main sort of physical threat in the movie is this little chrome ball that flies around with spikes on it and just runs into your head.
Oh.
It's really silly.
I got some advice for the people in that movie. Doug,
put on a helmet.
Put on a helmet or something, because it's coming for your head.
A lot of fun. Don Coscarelli also directed Bubba Hotep.
Ah, yes.
Which is a really funny Bruce Campbell movie.
Yeah. One of Ozzie Davis's last film.
Yeah, where an aged Elvis and JFK have to fight a mummy dressed as a cowboy.
Aged Elvis and black JFK fight a mummy dressed as a cowboy.
In a rest home in Texas.
Makes perfect sense.
Duh.
I think so. Writes itself.
I mean, history is history.
Yeah.
Phantasm. Yeah, it's another one. I mean, it's a skippable 80s horror movie, late 70s horror movie, but in my opinion, it's a lot of fun.
Also, the tagline for this is, if you're looking for horror that's got balls, it's found you.
Yeah. Because there's literally chrome flying spheres.
Right for your head.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Wear a helmet. So this next one, Ian.
Yeah.
What do you got, bud? This is not so easy.
This is I have a Hammer film from 1967. There was a series of these films based around this particular scientist, and this one is the most well-known of them, and it's called Quartermass in the Pit. And it's about a scientist who unearths alien life underneath England.
Okay.
And it's kind of like The Thing in a way, where, it starts infecting people, and it was this kind of, we never should have dug this up, it's going to destroy us all type situations. It's, it falls into the category almost of like a Them type movie, where it's that really stilted black and white movie acting of, we've got to get out of here, just like shaking people and the slaps across the face. Calm down, man, and that kind of stuff.
You lost your senses.
Yeah, but they did a number of those Quartermass movies. One of them, they actually go into space. I think looking for the source of the virus or whatever it is that they found. But quite a few Quartermass films actually were made. They're not super watchable. But I needed a cue.
There's a Quartermass Experiment that came out only 10 years ago.
Oh, Lord.
It's got David Tennant in it.
Well,
how about that?
So it's good.
So it's good.
There you go. So that was my excuse to not use Cue the Winged Serpent on this.
This list. Yeah.
Next year.
Oh, yeah. Next year Last year was quarantine.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Oh, that's all good.
Paul.
I apologized. This next one is a favorite of mine. It's based on a H.P. Lovecraft story called the short story is called Herbert West Reanimator, and the movie is just called Reanimator.
Yep.
Tons of fun. Silly, super over the top. Again, cartoony, but also quite violent. Just really crazy stuff. It's basically this scientist who was working in Germany is trying to, in effect, recreate what Frankenstein did and grant life to dead tissue. And he's come up with this serum that can do it, but the problem is everything it brings back is completely insane.
So, maybe tweak your serum a little bit.
Yeah.
Or maybe make an anti-insanity serum.
Which you could do.
You could do.
So he starts off by taking a room in the basement of this medical student's house and the cat ends up dying, and he brings the cat back to life. And there's a 6-minute sequence in the basement while these two guys are being chased by a stuffed cat that keeps leaping out of the darkness and attacking them, and they're having to attack it with shovels and stuff. But it's
Which one?
It's indestructible. And
that was Return of the Living Dead. Was the half dog?
Was
right?
the split dog?
The split dog.
The medical supply warehouse.
Yes, the medical supply warehouse.
Yeah. And yeah, it basically spills over, and the guy he's rooming with ends up getting sort of drawn into this conspiracy with him, and they're trying to finish this experiment, and they start resurrecting corpses in the morgue at the medical hospital and
Yeah,
the medical school.
One of those. Yeah,
and the whole thing gets a little topsy turvy, and there's headless horseman like characters carrying around their talking heads and stuff. It's goofy. It's the movie that's referenced in American Beauty, when Kevin Spacey is talking with the kid outside of the dinner, and he's saying, "What was that movie where the guy had like the head on the desk?" He's like, "Oh, Reanimator." He's like, "You gotta lend me that movie, man." It's Reanimator. It's tons and tons of fun. They did a bunch of sequels that aren't worth watching, but the first one is a blast.
So Reanimator's not worth revisiting in sequels, then?
Not so much.
Yeah,
not really. No. Next up, I have Scanners.
Yes, the famous Exploding Heads movie.
Yes, Monsieur.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing.
Monsieur Cronenberg. With Michael Ironside, who's always delightfully freaky looking.
That's right, Turbo Kid's own Michael Ironside.
Yeah, a really, really kind of it's almost in the vein of like a They Live type movie, where there's this secret society of people who are called scanners, and they're basically telekinetics. And this guy discovers kind of that he's one of these people, and they bring him in, or they try to bring him into their conspiracy to take over the world. And it's really, really, convoluted, this plan they have of how they're going to take over through, influencing the most influential people and all this kind of stuff. And then at one point, a guy is giving a newscast, and he's about to say some stuff they don't want to get out there. So Michael Ironside explodes his head on national television.
And it's a very famous GIF that's been used quite often.
And it almost happened to Garth when Wayne left him alone on air. You guys remember that scene in Scanners when that dude's head blew up? It's Cronenberg. I mean, a lot of people have trouble watching his stuff because it's really kind of gross. He's really into sort of body destruction.
Yes.
The Fly being another great example of that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty terrific stuff. And another good Canadian kid.
That's right. It's good Canadian kid. Yep, grossing people out.
That's true. Next up is T. I would say most people have probably seen this one. It's Tremors. Just a fun movie. Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, who was also in the Adventures of Remo.
Adventures of Remo Williams.
Remo Williams, yeah. And he's the dad in Road Trip.
He's also Colin Farrell's dad in True Detective Season 2.
Ooh.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Way to go, Fred Ward.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with Fred Willard.
Also, Reba McEntire's in this movie.
Definitely thought of Fred Willard when you said that.
Yeah. It's Fred. What are we doing with these Tremors?
Hey, what happened?
Hey, what happened? I don't think so. So Tremors, a classic sort of TBS Sunday afternoon movie. This little tiny town somewhere, I think it's in like Arizona, suddenly starts getting attacked by these subterranean worms, and it's this kind of goofy comedy horror movie that's much more comedy than horror, and it's just a blast to watch. They made a bunch of sequels that are garbage. The first movie's kind of garbage, but it's like it was setting out to be sort of a B movie, and I think it succeeds with flying colors. It's really great. It's just fun to watch, and another kind of party movie that everybody enjoys.
You just put it on, and people be like, "Yeah, it's Tremors."
I've never talked to anybody who was like, "I hated Tremors."
Yeah.
Like, you at least are ambivalent to Tremors at best.
This movie is completely unhateable.
Yeah, it's got too much going for it. Yeah. So the next one is You. And for that, I have Under the Skin, which was a much maligned Scarlett Johansson film.
Oh yeah, that was out just 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I heard varying opinions, but pretty polarized.
yeah. A lot of people really disliked it, and some people thought it was like brilliant. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
But it's really in the vein of kind of like Species. I don't know if you ever saw Species, but it's essentially an alien comes to Earth, disguises itself as a very sort of traditionally glamorous woman and goes around murdering people in order to try and reproduce.
Oh, okay.
It's done pretty effectively. There were weird moments of... I think it's one of the things people had a lot of trouble with this movie is the acting's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's really sort of heightened. People are trying a little hard, I think, on purpose, though. So, worth a glance. I don't know that it's necessarily really scary, but...
it's got a cool-looking poster.
It does have a cool-looking poster. Again, it's another on Netflix one, so you can kind of give it 10 minutes, and if it's not really your cup of tea, you can sort of step out.
Yeah,
but,
watch an old episode of King of the Hill if you want.
Yeah.
Actually, King of the Hill's not on Netflix.
No, they took it off.
It should be.
Wrath of Khan.
Damn.
Yeah, but not nearly as bad as everybody sort of set it out to be. I think it was... People expected it to be transcendent just because it had a movie star in it, and it was just kind of an okay little movie.
Yeah.
Next up is one of my favorite horror movies ever, called Vampires, or more specifically, John Carpenter's Vampires.
Ah, yes.
This movie's awesome. It is James Woods fighting vampires. It's so great. James Woods and one of the Baldwin brothers. Actually,
Daniel Baldwin.
Nice.
Fighting vampires, and the guy who played Flass in Batman Begins is a vampire hunter at the very beginning, and he gets chopped in half.
Oh,
and it's crazy.
He didn't like falafel?
No, he did not like falafel. Or vampires.
Or vampires.
It's so silly, so over the top. It's such a John Carpenter movie.
Yeah, as I say, John Carpenter in the house.
In like the best way. At the very beginning, they raid this house in the middle of like the Badlands or something like that, and it's a team of vampire hunters. They're like, we got a nest, okay. So they've got trucks set up outside, and this whole system where they go in and all of their weapons, they're like suiting up beforehand, and they're putting on chainmail throat guards and stuff before they go in.
Of course.
And like they go inside, and they've got like great big spears with flashlights on them. He's got a crossbow, and everything's hooked up to wires that are tethered to the winches on the trucks outside. So they'll like jab a vampire and then let the thing go, and then they just drag them outside with the winch
So the
into the sunlight.
Nice.
And they just do that like all afternoon.
That's awesome.
It's hilarious. The whole movie's super silly, and it's all about this vampire who's trying to find this relic that will let him walk in the sun.
Oh, okay.
And it's
Be a daywalker like Blade.
basically
Yeah.
And so they find this girl who was bitten by him. And because vampires have a psychic connection to their victims, they keep her around, trying to keep her from turning so that they can use her to figure out where he's going.
So she can be like, he's at the 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I have to reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
That's so Raven.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go, right?
Bringing it back.
And yeah, it's super, super fun. Watching James Woods try to be a tough guy is hilarious to me. I don't know. I love James Woods, but it's just super silly to watch him punch a vampire in the face a bunch of times. Yeah, great movie. Definitely worth a watch. For W, I have Hammer's Return, which was The Woman in Black.
Starring Harry Potter himself.
Starring Harry Potter as the youngest father in history.
Oh, yeah. How old's his kid?
I think his kid's supposed to be like 8.
No, wait a second. Really?
Yeah. He's at the very beginning. He's a doctor, and he's like, "All right, Matthew, now you take care of your mummy while I'm away." And it's like, "You're about 7 years older than me, Dad."
Well, he's only a year younger than Matt, really.
Well, yeah, that's true. But anyway, he looks incredibly young. He's Daniel Radcliffe. But once you get past that, and he sort of like leaves the family behind and goes off to do this thing. It's terrific. It's a really classic, old school haunted house movie where it's a guy with a vest and a cravat walking through darkened hallways in an old mansion with a candle in one hand and like a little hatchet in the other hand, being like, "Hello, I was poring over these ledgers all evening." Like it's great.
And they made a sequel, right?
They did. I'm not going to bother with that one.
They should have called that one Back in Black. Oh, right?
Or used it in the trailer.
Yeah.
All right. I get Bill Murray in the Ghostbusters outfit in there.
Yeah. Get Peter Venkman up in that.
I was really pleasantly surprised by that one. I went to see it at an afternoon matinee when it came out, and didn't expect much, and was pleased. This one I'm excited about, folks.
This is a big one.
My ex this year.
This is another big one.
And I actually tracked this thing down and watched it. It's called Xtro, Xtro, and they made 2 sequels to this movie. It is a film about a man who is abducted by aliens, only to return years later in order to try and get his son, like to kidnap his son. It is awful, awful, awful. Again, I needed an X.
You got an X,
and
yeah.
didn't want to resort to the X-Files. But one thing that this movie does have going for it is really, really good, really, really gross special effects.
There you go. See, that's
So
the great thing
many-
about horror. It's like, you can suck, but you'd be like, but it was really gross, so I liked it.
Exactly. It has so many just creature effects and like transformation effects. It's the fact that it got 2 sequels is baffling to me. But the first movie is really sort of grimy, video nasties, 80s horror movie stuff.
It also features the screen debut of Miriam Debeau, who was in The Living Daylights. She's the Bond girl in that movie.
She was Annalise Mercier.
So there you go, Bond nerds. You can enjoy her in Xtro.
Yes.
Man, that's a good movie. The
Living Daylights? Oh, it's
just throw that out there.
T-Dalt's great.
The new Bond box
T-Dalt.
set looks awesome.
Yeah,
Actually.
that's pretty good. But we'll say that for another week, though, the Bond stuff.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, the poster for Xtro is just...
Oh, it's great,
beautiful.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope that's what the alien looks like in the thing.
So for Y, I have your next.
Yeah, the one with the bunny masks and the crossbows.
Yeah, it's not so good. It's one of those.
But it was made for like not a lot of money, right? Like this is like super low budget movie.
Yeah, it's one of these movies that came out in the wake of all of these kind of home invasion horror movies, which I think The Strangers kind of set up. Which was I liked it a lot. Actually.
Strangers, and then there's Purge.
Yeah,
and then there's this one,
and they remade Funny Games. Which
with
was,
Naomi Watts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they made Straw Dogs, which is another kind of one of those.
Yeah.
So there was this sort of spat of home invasion movies. And this one introduced the twist of what if they wore animal masks?
So be like the Beatles Magical Mystery Tour.
I'm listening.
Somebody would
You've got me interested.
Somebody would be the walrus.
Yes.
Oh, it's like a bunch of Wyatt family members. Yeah.
What if a zebra were to break into my home?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, hide the salad. It's gonna eat all the stuff.
A man zebra.
Yeah.
The man's here.
It's a bro.
So kind of just another one of those. Not if you're gonna watch a home invasion movie, I would say watch either The Strangers or Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, that's true.
Those would be sort of...
If you're in a home invasion movie type mood.
Yeah, if you really want to be terrified in your own space,
own house,
then for sure, watch that kind of stuff.
Triple bolt the door and put on one of those movies.
What's the worst that could happen while I'm sitting here watching this right now?
I'm in the comfort of my own home. Well, it'd be totally okay.
Yeah, so it's whatever. And then finally my Z, because we're in Canada. Oh, no, wait. America.
Nope.
America.
Sorry. I've been constantly checking my oats in a boats.
That's right.
So I'm over on Z.
Yeah.
But my Z is Zombieland, which
yes,
is a delight to watch. I went into it the first time expecting it to be sort of like a real half-hearted ripoff of Shaun of the Dead, trying to capitalize on, aren't zombies silly, ha ha ha, and was really pleasantly surprised. It goes its own way. It does its own thing. The characters are really likable for the most part. It has one of my favorite cameos in movie history in it.
Yeah, which I think by now most people know, but
Yeah.
we won't. I won't mention it.
Yeah, because if you haven't seen it, it's such a worthwhile cameo appearance.
Also features Metallica in the opening credit sequence.
For Whom the Bell Tolls.
For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Yeah.
Huge fan of that.
And yeah, just like a really cool kind of road trip zombie comedy.
So if you're looking for a road trip zombie comedy,
And who isn't?
after
Really?
you watch the home invasion movies,
Yeah.
definitely check out Zombieland.
And it was kind of right at the beginning of the rise of Emma Stone and Jesse Eisenberg.
That's right.
They were right at the beginning of their sort of rise to power.
To power.
The one would become Gwen Stacy, and the other one would become Lex Luthor.
And Mark Zuckerberg. And even Woody, that kind of... This is right before we did the first season of True Detective. This may be kind of a recall to power for Woody.
I think it kind of got them back out there.
Yeah.
Or got him back out there. He is terrific in it. And again, I thought he was going to be, trying a little too hard. Because the tough guy role in movies is always sort of, it either works or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And if you cast the wrong person, then it's just dumb and goofy.
Yeah.
See James Woods punching vampires.
Face, yeah. Brought up earlier in the conversation.
Yeah, but no, I liked Woody Harrelson a lot, and because you very quickly realize with Woody Harrelson that you're like, I wouldn't want him upset with me.
Yeah,
he seems, especially after season 1 of True Detective.
Oh hell, yeah.
But yeah, it's an absolute blast and a lot of fun to watch with a bunch of friends.
Yeah,
it's a good one to sort of have on.
Good party movie.
Yeah. And yeah, that's my 2015.
There it is, man. The
there
2015 list.
Yeah.
In depth, like a mug on every one of them. I quite enjoyed it. Zombieland from... What was the first one?
From Afflicted to Zombieland.
Afflicted to Zombieland. We have the 2015 list. Well, Ian, I want to thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. Thanks.
Being a part of the show.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you letting me...
Supersize show.
Letting me talk all over you guys the entire time.
No, dude.
Hey, that's where you bring
I'm
in.
impressed. And not a sip of water the entire time.
Not a drop to drink. I'm happy for the listeners because I think they just got a nice education and some nice options for Halloween.
Yeah, I'm happy for the listeners too because you guys got to enjoy us.
There you go.
I envy you. So if you would like to make a comment on the list at all, you can get at us on Twitter. Ian, what's your Twitter handle, sir?
I'm at Ian Stewart Hanlin.
Stewart is with a U.
U-A-R-T.
Ewart. Oh, U-A-R-T. Okay.
Yeah.
Matt is on Twitter at...
I'm MP Vaughn.
That's EMPEEVON. And I'm on Twitter, Instagram, William C. Vaughn. And
Alex is at Evonics.
Yes, Alex is at Evonics. He's got one more week in Europe, and then he's coming back home.
Yeah, and then we promptly go to the United States.
And then you guys leave again. So see you later. Next week, I don't know if there's any point in doing a Bond preview because there's a lot of movies, but if we want to talk about that, we can. That would be a good idea.
I could definitely make something good happen.
There you go. But also, I don't want to promise anything a week in advance because last time it happened, we canceled Ian. Ian.
Well, we can play.
There were factors.
Ian was at my house. He was waiting, and I said, "No, you just go home."
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What are you doing in there? Nothing. Don't come in here.
Don't come in. Yes, but anyway, everybody. Halloween plans. We're going to. We'll be at the Back 40 Friday night, so if you want to, come over and say hi.
Yeah, check us out. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. We're just normal people. You can come right up and say hi.
Even though we're on this illustrious podcast, this award-winning podcast. Matt, what's your Halloween plan?
TBD.
How exciting!
Sweet.
Sweet.
Definitely watching Alien is my goal.
There you go. That's a good goal. Yeah, I think our Halloween day is going to be probably watching. I'm going to watch this entire list on Halloween day.
That would be
26 movies in a row. It's going to be outrageous. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. Have a happy, safe Halloween. Always check your candy bars for razor blades, even though that's not a thing. And
it is now, though.
Matt. Okay, don't trick or treat at Matt's house.
Not what I meant, but okay.
I know. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.